Soon after, Most Holy Mary had a vision of the Lord, in which God spoke to her. My most beloved spouse and chosen one, behold how faithful I am to my promises with those who love me. Correspond therefore now to my fidelity by observing all the laws of a spouse, in holiness, purity, and all perfection, and let the company of my servant Joseph, whom I have given thee, help thee thereto. Obey him as thou shouldst, and listen to his advice. The Most Holy Mary responded, Most High Lord, I praise and magnify thee for thy admirable disposition and providence in my regard, though I am so unworthy and poor a creature. I desire to obey thee and please thee as one having greater obligation to thee than any other. Bestow upon me, my Lord, thy divine favor, in order that I may be assisted in all things and governed according to thy pleasure, and also in order that I may attend to the duties of the state in which thou hast placed me, never, as thy slave, erring from thy commands and wishes. Show me thy good will and blessing, and with it I will strive to obey and serve thy servant Joseph in such a manner as thou, my Lord and Maker, commandest. On such heavenly beginnings was founded the home and the married life of the Most Holy Mary and Saint Joseph. From the 8th of September, when they were espoused, until the 25th of March following, when the incarnation of the Divine Word took place, as I will say in the second part, the two spouses thus lived together, being prepared in the meanwhile for the work designated for them by the Most High. But I cannot at this juncture withhold my words of congratulation at the good fortune of the most happy among men, Saint Joseph. Whence is it, O man of God, that thou among all sons of Adam shouldst have the happiness and good fortune of possessing God himself in such a manner that he conducted himself and was reputed as thy only Son? The Eternal Father gives to thee his Son, and the Son gives to thee his true and real Mother, and the Holy Ghost entrusts to thee his spouse, while the most blessed Trinity, in its turn, yields and espouses to thee as thy legitimate wife, its chosen one, its only one, elect as the Son. Dost thou realize, O Saint, thy dignity? Dost thou know thy excellence? Dost thou understand that thy spouse is the Queen and Lady of heaven and earth, and that thou art the depositary of the inestimable treasures of God himself? Be mindful, man of God, of thy entrusted pledge, and know that if thou art not envied by the angels and seraphim, thou hast certainly filled them with wonder and astonishment at thy good fortune, and at the sacramental mystery connected with thy matrimony. Accept the congratulations for such great happiness in the name of the whole human race. Thou art the archive of the history of the divine mercies, the master and spouse of her who is inferior only to God himself. Thou findest thyself enriched and prosperous in the sight of all men and of the angels themselves. Remember our poverty and misery, and remember me, the most worthless worm of the earth, for I desire to be thy client, blessed and favored by thy powerful intercession. Instruction given by the Queen of Heaven. My daughter, in the example of the matrimonial life wherein the Most High placed me, thou findest a reproof for those souls who allege their life in the world as an excuse for not following perfection. To God nothing is impossible, and nothing is likewise impossible to those who, with a lively faith, hope in him and resign themselves entirely to his divine providence. I lived in the house of my spouse with the same perfection as in the temple, for in changing my state of life I altered neither my sentiments nor the desire and anxiety to love and serve God. On the contrary, I added to my solicitude, lest the obligations of a spouse should hinder me in God's service. On this account, God favored me and disposed and accommodated powerfully all things in conformity to my desires. The Lord will do the same for all men, if on their part they correspond. They, however, blame the state of matrimony, deceiving themselves, for the hindrance to a holy and perfect life is not the state, but the vain and superfluous cares and anxieties in which they involve themselves, forgetting the sweetness of the Lord and seeking and preferring their own. And if there is no excuse for not living a perfect life in the world, still less will the duties and obligations of the religious state be an excuse. Never imagine thyself exempt from the pursuit of perfection on account of being a superioress. For since God has placed thee in office by obedience, thou must not despair of his assistance and protection. He himself will each day assume the responsibility of strengthening thee and helping thee to fulfill thy duties, without relaxing in the pursuit of a perfect love due to God. Oblige him by the sacrifice of thy own will, submitting in humble patience to all that his divine providence may ordain. If thou dost not hinder the course of his providence, I assure thee of his protection, and of the power of his divine arm, to direct thee and guide all thy actions toward perfection.